officially hate everything I've done so far, and I think I want to start over. This was meant to be the reveal vlog, but I genuinely don't think it's going to turn out well, and I kind of just want to stop right now. I almost abandoned this poncho. At some point, it just wasn't worth the drama. Except it was, because making things is always worth it. I put so much time, energy, money, effort, all the things into this poncho that it really began to feel like my baby. But unlike kids, you can go back. You have control, and it's up to you to use it. I was initially drawn to this pattern because it was so intricate, and oftentimes when I think of crochet, I think of bulkier projects because those are geared towards beginners. And when I started crocheting, I was completely self taught, so I was going after those beginner patterns. And eventually I switched over to knitting, which creates a thinner fabric and it kind of has more of a refined look in a way. And so when I found this and I saw that it was crochet, it's that refined look that I love in knitting. So I jumped at the opportunity to make it. And it was also a great way to get back into crocheting. I spent the past fall and winter season completely knitting. So you can literally see the yarn on my door from one of my knitting projects. And so I thought, oh my God, this is the perfect pattern that's going to get me back into crochet. And it's so gorgeous. In fact, it's so gorgeous that I could literally pass this down like as an heirloom piece. And I know that my mother definitely wants me to make her one, and I just may because her 50th birthday is coming up. So this was definitely an important project for me mentally, and also just to prove to myself that I can make whatever I want, whenever I want. While making this poncho, I was on my period, and of course, that's when everything started to go wrong. At some point, was fully convinced that the larger bottom square was way too big for my poncho. So I panicked and I literally threw it in the washer on hot water, took it out, threw it on the dryer on the highest heat setting. And I left it in there for, I want to say, like an hour and a half. So it was crazy. It didn't really shrink that much. It did kind of like close in on itself, but it wasn't too crazy. But all of that panicking was because I was fully convinced it just wasn't going to work and I had wasted my time. This mesh and the upper square, it took a good minute because again, I was working with crochet thread and this is the first time that I ever worked with crochet thread. So I was freaking out. I literally mentally could not handle this poncho not coming together in the way that I had envisioned. It took me, I want to say, at least a week to do the bottom square alone. And I didn't want to waste another week. Also, the pressure was on because I had started posting to YouTube and I made a promise to myself that every single week I would post. So, when the square didn't come together and the way that I thought it would, I was fully convinced that my timeline would be thrown off. I had placed all of these restrictions on myself and I did it because I wanted to make sure that I'm consistent, but at the same time, it doesn't really work when it comes to being creative. Sometimes when you're a creative person, you need time for that creativity to flow and for things to come together the way that you envision. So I had to take a little break. I had gotten to the point where I was fully convinced that I would need to frog the project completely or just abandon it and start over. And when I say I was fully convinced, I was fully convinced. And I'm kind of proud of myself because even though I was at the point where I was just ready to give up, I kind of wasn't giving up completely. I really still wanted to make this poncho and I was going to make that happen, even if that meant starting over and maybe posting something else on YouTube in the meantime. So I stopped and I did something for myself and then I came back. When I came back, I said, you know what? Let me just attach the bottom square to the poncho. If it works out, it works out. I don't think it will, but at least I can say I tried before crashing out completely and just starting over. In the midst of making this poncho, Juneteenth came and went, and I think that holiday also put some things into perspective for me. Having to sit back and reflect with friends and family about the importance of the holiday, it really kind of made it clear to me that my struggle is nothing compared to theirs and that they went through all they went through because they envisioned a future where I could sit on my couch and cry about my poncho not coming together. So I think that also helped me get over the heartbreak mentally, and it really did help me push through. I taught myself to knit and crochet from YouTube and TikToks alone. I never had a formal teacher. I never had a grandma or mom or aunt or anyone to sit down and crochet or knit with me. So I'm really proud of myself for even having enough skill to make something like this, you know? We live in such a digital world now where you can learn anything from online, but it's not really the same as having like an in-person session where you can ask questions and you can troubleshoot right there on the spot. So every time I run into an issue, it really is just me figuring it all out alone because I don't really know anyone who crochets or knits the way I do. Teaching myself to crochet and knit really taught me that I can do anything that I want to do. And now that I'm on YouTube and on the other side of the screen, where I'm not necessarily teaching you guys how to knit and crochet, but I'm kind of a part of the community where I'm showing off these projects and talking about what went right, what went wrong. Um, I really want to build this skill and be consistent and persevere. So not only was I trying to persevere through this poncho, I was trying to persevere through the YouTube process of having a dedicated upload schedule and making sure I meet that mark. I see myself as a creative and I want that to be reflected in my videos. I didn't record enough of the ugly parts because I wanted to showcase like a perfect poncho. I see so many vlogs where people are showing off their beautiful garments and then they're showing off little clips of them knitting or crocheting and then some beautiful B-roll clips, and that's just a video, which is great. But that was not the case for me with this poncho. I definitely went through some ups and downs. I learned a big lesson. I want to be authentic on my channel, and that means filming the breakdowns and not necessarily me crying on camera, but just filming me working through all of those things mentally. I really wish I would have gotten more clips. I do have a few, but I don't think they really show the extent to which I was agonizing over this poncho. And I think the process is the point. Like showing the ugly parts, showing the great parts. When you're making something, that's all a part of the end result. This poncho doesn't just mean something because it's a new garment that I have to wear or that it's pretty. It means something because I went through all of that strife. I went through all of that frustration and I persevered and I made it to the other side. And now I have a beautiful garment with a beautiful story. I also have so many abandoned whips. My past self put the same kind of love and care into those past projects, and I want to honor that by finishing them. So that might be another video in the future. The first day I wore this poncho out, I had done so before I had even fixed the neckline because I was so thirsty to show the world this poncho that I created and that I agonized over. And I'm really happy I did because I actually went to Hobby Lobby to get some more yarn for another project that I'm going to be working on. And when I was checking out, the cashier gave me the best compliment ever. She told me that I looked really artsy. She also said that I looked like a yoga teacher who, had the namaste vibe. But the artsy part was really what I wanted to focus on. I really want to be seen as a creative, and I hadn't really felt like one because up until this point, well, I'm still kind of doing that. I don't know why I said that, but I follow a lot of patterns when I make things. And while obviously you're still being creative, you're still choosing the colors, you're still making mistakes, you're still trying to navigate, how to fix those mistakes if you don't want to rip all the way back. I hadn't really felt like I was generating something completely new. I know that to be a lie, but I also really want to challenge myself to freehand some things. So just hearing that somebody already kind of thinks that about me is like I'm already kind of stepping into the future self that I want to be, if that makes sense. And it definitely motivated me to keep making things, whether I'm using a pattern or whether I'm eventually freehanding. So yeah, I really want to be the artsy girl, but I can't just want to be the artsy girl. I have to actually make art.